Good afternoon and welcome to Finding the Plot. My name is Sebastian Whittington Smythe and I have a real treat for you today. Majin and the Forsaken Kingdom. Some say that it's a tale of friendship, but these people are wrong. It is actually a warning against the misuse of knowledge for personal gain. The sort of thing that led to SOPA, PIPA and ACTA. Yes, this game is topical. But I know why you're really here. If you're a fan of my Facebook page at facebook.com/findingtheplot, you will recall this update. That's right, this game depicts a shadow vagina being pulled open in a Goatsy-esque fashion. Now, if you don't know what Goatsy is, please Google it in a public place, preferably work or school. There is absolutely no way that this could end badly. Of course, that scene comes at the end of the game, so while most of you will probably skip straight there for your saucy wank, and hey, I don't blame you, I already had mine before filming began, it really is worth watching the whole thing so that you can understand the significance of the vagina before enjoying the existence of the vagina. It really does make the wank that much more satisfying. Anyway, without further ado, I've got a little bit of wine left, so let's find the plot of Majin and the Forsaken Kingdom. The game begins with a brief introduction which tells us that a young man and a guardian united the people of the world into a single kingdom that flourished under the leadership of wise kings. Technological advances ushered in an age of prosperity. As I'm sure you can see, the young man represents the internet pioneer and the guardian is his knowledge. You'll see why shortly. This prosperity didn't last and the darkness envelopes the kingdom, bringing it to its knees. The kingdom represents the world of the late 90s, an internet renaissance, while the darkness is the era of internet censorship that is being a bit of a bugger for us all right now. In the game, the darkness has crippled the kingdom, and all of the advances it enjoyed have been lost, a poignant warning for us all, I'm sure you'll agree. Our part in the story arrives 100 years after these events, with a young thief. They call him a thief, but it's a clever play on how the record industry sees internet users. He's really a brave internet pioneer. The thief is trying to fight the darkness, so infiltrates the castle at the centre of the kingdom to attain the powers of the legendary Majin. The thief's infiltration is a clear metaphor for hacking, and is incidentally far more realistic than the way that hacking is depicted in Hackers. It isn't long before he's caught by the darkness. They try to kill him, but luckily he falls really far and breaks his back, dying quickly rather than suffering the indignity of, "Oh wait, my mistake, it turns out he can't be hurt by long deadly drops onto concrete." Which is just as well really, or this would be a short game. He finds the Majin who has been imprisoned. The Majin speaks to the thief and is surprised that the thief understands him. Majin explains that most people don't, which is a clear reference to the thief, and by extension us, understanding how the internet and computers work, while the general public does not. The Majin reveals that his powers have been stolen by the darkness, who have sealed them away in fruit. And let's just stop there for a second. Let's see how good you guys are at spotting symbolism. This forbidden knowledge that can bring down the crazy laws is sealed away in fruit. Do you spot the reference? I'll check back in a bit and see how you're doing. There's even a prize if you get it right. With a disturbing wiggle of his hips, the thief obtains the Majin's fruit and takes it back to him. When he eats it, he regains some power, allowing him to escape, with the help of the thief of course. The thief takes the spike that pinned the Majin to the ground for a weapon, but it also served another purpose. The spike is also imbued with magic, and looks like a bootleg keyblade, which he presumably downloaded from Mediafire or something. This key metaphor is blindingly obvious, especially as it keeps unlocking Majin's memories, but not just yet. They escape the castle, barely evading the movie industry's shadowy hands. Unfortunately, the entrance to the castle becomes sealed with the masks of 4 of the royal court members. These court members represent the supporters of the internet censorship bills, seeing as those buggers openly support the spread of darkness and all that. Satire! Our heroes find this auspicious tree, which the Majin calls the Tree of Life, but he's talking balderdash. It's clearly the learning tree, because every time they sit under it and talk, this happens. But before I get to that, we have to watch this conversation where we learn their names. The Majin is named Teotl, and the savvy internet user Thief has no name, so Teotl names him Tepeyu. Interestingly, these names are anagrams of to let and tee up. This has no bearing on the story, but it's nice to know, isn't it? So anyway, we see a bit of Teotl's history where he was trying to protect a girl. He can't remember why, but he is certain that the girl is important. To progress, they must work together to not only restore Teotl's powers, but also his memory. As we know, Teotl represents knowledge and understanding. We need to build up his powers and memories from scratch, because if we use rote knowledge as a weapon, we would be no better than the politicians who sponsor these stupid laws. We have to actually understand what we're talking about for our arguments to become effective. The game illustrates this by making us solve puzzles and seek knowledge for ourselves, so that when we face the final boss, we are fully prepared. Okay, time's up. What does the fruit represent? Well, it kind of resembles an apple, and it grants Teotl knowledge and thus power that the authorities would rather he didn't have. Therefore, it is clearly a reference to the forbidden fruit of knowledge that Adam and Eve ate in the Bible. Now, if you did get this right and you're wanting your prize, well, there is no prize. I lied. Sorry about that. After they pick up another fruit, they run into... Wait, is that Gomer? Oh wait, it's not Gomer, it's Capricorn, whose name is an anagram of a park can. He says that he's a hero and that he has helped to create a brilliant new civilization where everyone is the same, which sounds a lot like communism to me. I don't know about the darkness, the redness sounds more apt. Ha ha ha. Oh, in fact his subtitles are red. Well played, Majin. Anyway, Tepeyu disagrees with his views, so they have a chat, which ends with Capricorn dying. With his defeat, Capricorn revealed that he hated having to turn people into darkness, but he was forced to by the darkness. Just following orders then. Oh, that makes it okay. Anyway, Teotl finds his next fruit, which gives him the power of lightning, and encounters the next boss, Baalam, whose name is an anagram of Alam. He is the Prime Minister and resents the king's power, and wants more for himself. If the king represents the government, Baalam sits quite nicely in the role of the record industry and friends. Someone who resents that they are governed by anybody, and who wants all the power for themselves. Tepeyu notes that the quest for power is why the kingdom is decaying, because he is serving his own interests rather than those of the country. Sounds familiar? Of course, he dies, but unlike Capricorn, he was not repentant. Okay, a quick word about these flashback cutscenes. When our heroes defeat a boss, or eat some fruit or sit under a tree, it plays one of the scenes and explains some of Teotl's history. Now the thing is that if I go through them in the same order as the game, it will actually become really tedious. So what I'm going to do is I'll put them in a sensible order and explain them for you in one go right now. Teotl was chased out of towns by people who hated him because they didn't understand him. He met up with a guy named Tepeyu who understood him and they became friends. When Tepeyu became the king, they enjoyed the era of prosperity as mentioned in the intro. Ah, the late 90s and early 2000s. Morpheus, Shahrazar, Kazaa, Napster, LimeWire... but not BearShare because that sucked. For a few generations the world was great, but eventually the kingdom became too big and people lost the ability to understand Teotl, and so he was shunned. In other words, the technology he provided became so common and easy to use that they didn't need to or want to understand him. Like today really. I miss the days when you had to set up all sorts of port forwarding and MAC address spoofing and the like to get to work. Eventually, Teotl met Toki, the princess, who reintroduced him to the kingdom. Scientists found that his powers could fuel better machinery, but also created dark grout, the same pollutant that became the darkness. It turns out that Teotl possessed the power to turn grout into energy. With this information, they believed that they no longer needed Teotl's help, so they shunned him again. At this time, the king was frail, so the scientists brought this discovery to him in hopes of a reward. They presented this broken half-knowledge to the king, but something went wrong, and without the benefit of Teotl's full influence, the king became consumed by darkness and used it to fuel his quest for power. He poisoned the masses, converting them to the darkness. In other words, this impure knowledge became the downfall of civilization, yet granted a new lease of power to the once weak king. So this last part might seem a little bit vague about how it ties into internet censorship, but it's the principle that matters. If Teotl represents the full knowledge and understanding of how the internet works, then the scientists taking a single part of him to leverage power is exactly the same as what the record industry, movie industry and politicians are doing right now. The scientists have taken a lackluster understanding of this subject and tried to misuse it to gain world domination, but instead brought down their own kingdom. But hey, on a lighter note, doesn't Teotl sound a lot like Tony the Tiger?
This door heavy. I need your help.
Anyway, after the king unleashes the darkness, we see that Teotl tried to protect Toki, but overwhelmed by the odds, he used the last of his energy to seal her in a crystal. We know what happens to him, but what about Toki? What does she represent? Well, with this flashback, we're actually back up to date, so we'll find out soon. When Teotl gets the fire fruit, another memory is unlocked. It seems that the young Teotl looks like a guinea pig. This doesn't really have anything to do with anything, but it's so cute! The next boss is a fish with a volcano on its back. He wants to fight because he loves fighting. Oh, he must be Irish. Oh, but then he dies. His name was Tlaloc, which is the noise that Barry Skoda makes when I kick him in the nuts. Tlaloc is also an anagram of locult. I don't know what that word means, so let me Google it. Locult. Nudist. So skipping ahead some, because I've already covered most of these cutscenes, Turtle gets his final power, which makes people...
I make them sparkle. Get hard.
Which sounds like a Twilight porno, to be honest. They find Ishtab, the queen, and pound her baboon butt, then smash her face in, and she dies. With Ishtab defeated, Turtle has his final flashback and is finally strong enough to confront the king, Xolotl. No, I'm not slurring my words, that actually is his name. Turtle is angry about the king's abuse of power, but the king is so badass powerful that he is able to corrupt Turtle, corrupting knowledge itself, which is a real dick move when you think about it. For some reason, though, Toki is in a crystal in the chandeliers. Now, I know why she was sealed, but why is she up there? Topeo frees her and she goes to battle the king, looking every inch a Saucy Soul caliber pirate reject. You know, looking at her, she seems a bit out of place and fanservice-y. Wait, I've got it. She represents internet porn. That's why Turtle was so obsessed with rescuing her. Anyway, we get some odd dialogue like...
Poor thing. Infected by the darkness.
You can tell?
For the most part.
And it's clear that the scriptwriters are getting tired. That's the only explanation I have, really. The king rushes off to the heart of the darkness.
To the heart of the darkness. Other side. Lots and lots of darkness.
That's why he called it the heart.
So off they go to follow him, and here's the scene we've all been waiting for. Oh yeah, that's hot. It's just missing one thing though. Hello, Barry. Can you get your grandmama on the phone, please? I need her to talk dirty for me again. Oh. Oh, well, I'm sorry to hear that. She will be missed. You know, especially that thing she did when she took her teeth out, and we'll all miss that. Well, okay, I know you won't, because, yeah, she was your gran, but for the rest of us, it was something special. How about your mum? Is your mummy around? Can you put her on? Well, I don't care if she's arranging the funeral. God. Okay, I'm sorry. I know it's a terrible time for you, and yes, I know. Well, seeing as you're not doing much, have you got a couple of minutes to spare? Well, I just needed to, you know. I know you're not into that, and I'm not either. But look, the point is, it won't take long. Just talk about classical music and alcohol and whatever. I'm easy. Hello? Hello? Jesus. So, moving on. This gynecological nightmare is, of course, the Mother of Darkness. Look at how she climbs out of a diseased twat. The king is literally trying to corrupt the world by spreading the terror of these bills from her diseased teats. But as sexy as it is, it must be killed. With her defeated, Toki knocks sense into her father. He realises that he has broken the internet, and the darkness now looks for someone else to live off like a parasite. Again, a fitting analogy for the movie and record industries. He says it has no thought, no will of its own, that it is humans who are evil. Which is true, the industries themselves aren't evil. It is the greed of the industry leaders that is the problem. The king, racked with guilt, decides that he will sacrifice himself to seal the darkness away, but he dies before he can. Well, that was pointless. So it falls to Turtle to do it instead. It seems that in doing so, Turtle used up all of his power. But Toki points out that with the darkness gone, he doesn't need to fight. The ultimate truth is now free, and the darkness of the bills has gone. Knowledge doesn't need to fight for fairness anymore. So what did we learn from Majin and the Forsaken Kingdom? It tells us that leaders will twist what little knowledge they have to fit their agendas. If we let those who do not understand new markets rule them, then it will only end in disaster. It's up to us to keep up with new technology and to keep lawmakers in line with reason. SOPA and PIPA may be defeated for now, but ACTA is still a very real threat. Hell, if these laws pass, then I might not even have a show, and then what'll I do when I'm drunk? And on that note, that is the plot of Majin and the Forsaken Kingdom. Or perhaps I've been talking bollocks this whole time.